Hi, my name is Tiana Fowler, and I'm going to be going over circulation with you. A lot of times it's very convenient for us to establish a self-check-in station where students, parents, and volunteers can check in without them having access to the entire system. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. So you go to your back office. When you go to the back office, you're going to add a new patron. And we can call the new patron self-check-in. In order to add them, we need to assign a barcode. So, 9999, we'll just do that barcode. We want to do a username, which would be, we can do a username is self check-in KRMS. And then the password, and confirm a password, and we're going to save. Okay, so now we have a patron added with this barcode. Created the self-check-in account, then you set up a computer and you log it in, and then you put directions, and this is how you do it. Circulation, the check-in, the student will scan the barcode, and then it will allow them to check themselves in. I'm going to check in both my books, and there you go. So when it says my info, it doesn't give any information at all, and that's how you establish a self-check-in. And this self-check-in can be used by any student, parent, or volunteer that can assist. Occasionally, as you're checking out, sometimes you want to change the date or the time for the special cases, such as extending a loan for projects or things like that. So this month we have Book of the Month. So for all Book of the Month books, I always extend that to be the entire month, so they have the entire month as we talk about the book. So in order to check it out, we're going to check out the copy Tuck Everlasting, and when we check it out, 7862, when we check it out, we are going to change the date, and instead of having it due 2 weeks from today, we're actually going to have it due at the very end of December. You can do this for, if you're checking out a lot of students, you can do it until you log out. You can do it for this patron only or for this item. So this one we're going to do just for this item. And now you see it shows you that it's a special date that we've changed it. Talk about assessing fines. There are several ways to assess a fine. One way is as a student is checking in an item. If the student is checked in and you notice that there's any kind of damage, you can create a fine from the check-in site. And to do that, you would create the fine. There are lots of different reasons why you would create a fine, and you can find those reasons here. I'm just going to leave it at damaged. I don't want to charge the entire purchase price, but we're going to do $6 because the damage. And then you can do a note, the book was torn, or whatever the reason is. And then you would save it here. You could also go ahead and pay it and print the receipt as you do this, but we're going to just do it like that. And so now that the student has a fine. So here you see when I go to the student, it's actually showing the fine that I just created. Here's a second way that you can add a fine. When you go to Edit Fines, you can add a fine straight from the student's page. So if I wanted to add a fine, I could do the copy's name. I know that they lost this book, so I'm going to say that it was a lost book. And so now I'm going to save that. The copy is, I'm going to go to that copy. That book was $10.79, so I'm going to charge them the entire price of the book. and add a note, student lost book, and save. Again, you can see it automatically puts the fine there. Can print an individual fine from, I can print an individual student, the entire fines that are due to that student if I choose. As you can see, I can print it here, or I can go and print fines for everyone. I want to print fines for everybody, which I do about every 2 weeks or a month. I can go to the reports, and then I would do patron reports and the current checkout fines. Once I do the current checkout fines, I can mark whichever things that I need. You can email to the homerooms, or if you have any English language learners, you can go to different languages to print the report. But for now, we're just going to print the PDF and continue. Now to do this, you would just continue here because you want all the resources and all of that. Here's where you can either, sometimes I do it by homeroom. You can do it by homeroom and start a new page for each group, and that way the homeroom teachers can tell the students which books, who have fines and things like that. Or if you're in upper grades, you can actually do it by the patron name so that you're not going against confidentiality and telling other teachers what are out. That's kind of for the higher grade levels. And then you can label it by grade level. You can also sort them by homeroom. You can put the homeroom name on it and the grade level so that as you're passing it out, and then we're gonna run the report. And you see it's in progress. Run the report, then you can view it. And as you'll see, here's the name. This is when we did by homeroom. Here is each person. Actually, this one is per student. Actually, per homeroom. So you can see the homeroom teachers here, and here are all the students. And then here you can see for the older students that you're worried about confidentiality, you would print out per page so that you actually give it to the actual student and not necessarily to the homeroom, so that, or to the teacher, so that others don't see what each student is checking out. If you'll notice, there's an estimated fine for those materials that haven't been turned in. But there's also, it lists any, I think there's some, there. It lists any fines that have already been established. So once a student comes in and wants to pay a fine, you can actually go into the fine and edit the fine. And you can either waive it if for some reason they found the book, and you would then waive the fee. Or if they're paying it, $10.79, and that would be, save that, and then I can print the receipt. I can print it. And this then prints me a receipt of what was paid, and you'll notice that here. This was paid, and then there's not a balance here, but then I still have outstanding fines here. So I may want to leave a message for the student, and in order to do that, you go to the patron status, and then at the bottom of the page there's notes. You can add a note. So I've added a note here, and I'm going to go in and edit it. So this note is, the book you wanted me to order has been ordered. So I'm just going to display this note whenever the patron information's accessed. So the next time the student comes in, I'm going to save the note. And the next time that the student goes to check out a book, when it comes up, when you do the patron status, then each of those notes will come up The book you wanted me to order has been ordered. So now that I've told that student, and then I can hide the note from there. Oh, by the way, the Chromebook number is being repaired. Teacher did work order, and now I can hide that note as well. Once I've added fines, I can also delete the fines for whatever reason. If the book was found or whatever, you can just go to the delete and delete the fine, and then it disappears. Here you see if a book had previously been marked as lost and it comes up to get checked out by someone else. It's saying that, hey, Tuck Everlasting was previously marked as lost and the fine has been updated with a credit of this amount to this other student. So that way there's a self-checking mechanism. So if a book is found, then it automatically tells you, hey, this one was charged to another student. So that is very helpful. Student wants to check out a book that has already been checked out, is currently checked out to another student. You can add a hold to that copy, and when you add the hold, you find out it's requesting as soon as possible, and the patron that you want is requesting it. You put in their code here. And the book you wanted me to order has been, oh, that's, I'm going to hide that note. That's a previous note that we had. So you find the patron, here is the patron, and they're requesting this, and that way you save it. And if you save it, then it'll say hold request placed for any copy of that book. Once that book gets checked in, right here is the notice that says this copy should be held for this person. Please notify the patron that the hold is ready to be picked up. And then you can click here to print the notice for that student. And when the notice comes up, then you'll be able to just send that notice to the student that had previously held the put it on hold. And this is quite helpful. There might be an occasion where you want to create a temporary barcode, and in order to do this you would get one of your unused barcodes and then put it on like a magazine, and you would type in check out that barcode, and it would come up the search for this was unable to locate. So then what you can do is you can add the title, and in order to add the title you put the barcode, and then the title is whatever magazine it might be, and this is saying that the title is going to be deleted when you check it back in so that you can reuse that barcode for lots of different magazines. It's really great if you put it on like a sleeve where you can put a magazine inside the sleeve, and that way it's a different title each time. If you don't want it to be deleted, you would just uncheck mark it. But I want it deleted every time when we check it in and out so that I can change the magazine titles. And then you save, and then that magazine is then checked out, and it has a T right here, which means that it's going to be deleted as it gets checked in. That's very convenient when you need a temporary barcode for periodicals or magazines. You can look up the history log, the circulation log for a patron by items out. There's a view history. You click the view history button, and then it's waiting. And you can see for this patron, these are the library checkouts over their history. And you can go back as far as you need. Another way to find the circulation report is looking up for a single item. I would go to the copy status, find the status, and then view the history. And that's going to tell you the history of that single item. I hope this tutorial video has helped. Enjoy!